Hopefully you've been reviewing the names of your strings every time you practice, playing from the bottom to the top, G, C, E, and A. Once you've got these memorized well, good children eat apples, G, C, E, A. You can work on doing them backwards, A, E, C, and G. G, C, E, A, E, C, G. Once we learned our string names, we looked at what the notes in the frets would be. On the first string, we have an open A, second fret B, and third fret C. We're going from left to right on the string, from open to second to third, getting higher, going up the alphabet. A, B, C. When we encounter A in the musical alphabet, it comes after a G. The musical alphabet only gets up to a G and then starts again at A. So that means if I need a lower note than A, that's a G note, I can find it on the lower string, the E, but at the third fret. So G is third fret, before a G is an F at the first fret, and before an F is open E. So we learned E, F, G on the second string, A, B, C on the first, C, B, A, G, F, E. Lower than E is this D note on our third string, which brings us to open C. I can go up from C again, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. You can tell that these notes create a scale. You can hear Do, Re, Mi. It starts on C and ends on C, and has all the appropriate notes, the natural notes for the key of C. There are no sharps or flats in the key of C. Every note is just named as is. These are called natural notes when you don't say C sharp or E flat. So C natural, D natural, E natural, F natural, G natural, A natural, B natural, and C natural make a C scale. You can learn that up and down. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. Make sure you're saying your notes as you play it so you memorize them. You can randomize them. There's F and C and D and B and G, open C, open A, G, open E, etc. Try to test yourself and find all your note names. Once we learned these lower notes, we did, just by note names, hot cross buns. E, D, C, E, D, C, 4 Cs, 4 Ds, and another E, D, C. Using the same notes, I can have you play this song. I could ask you to play again E, D, C, and then go to a D note. 3 open E's, back to that D note, second fret, third string, back to those open E's. Start again with a hot cross bun style E, D, C, another D, 4 E's this time, 2 D's, and a final hot cross bun style E, D, C. Again, it's actually just fun for me to have you play those notes and not know what you're playing. People will say, well, what's this song going to be? I won't tell them until they've played. I'd like them to hear it and guess it. As soon as I play it, you'll know what it is, even if you didn't get it while you were playing. Later on, we'll use these very same songs to help us learn to read our notes, but right now I like to use the familiar songs to help you get familiar with the notes on your ukulele. Here's what we've been playing then: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Most people will consider that this is just going to be how it is. It's random, that sometimes we go from an open note to a second fret note, like we did from C to D or A to B, and sometimes we'll go to a first fret note. They'll just think that's meaningless. It's just something to learn when you learn ukulele. But as I've said, everything's important. Everything's meaningful. There's actually a reason that there's this open fret between C and D or A and B, but not between B and C. As you noticed when we played these notes, we were playing a C major scale. So this scale then, this pattern comes to define our scales. We get a whole step between some notes, like F to G. There's a fret between them that has no note in it right now. So that would be a whole step, which is 2 frets or a tone. C to D has that whole step. A to B has that whole step. E to F, there's no step between them, so it's only a half step. Same with B's and C's. G and A, D and E are also whole steps. Because we're crossing from one string to another at that moment, that's not as easy to see, but there is now your major scale. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. If you want to follow up on this a little bit more, use the playlist that I'm going to put on here called Scales. This will be described over and over and over again in the early guitar lessons. So C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. E to F is only a half step. All major scales have a half step now. Then a whole step to G, whole step to A, third whole step to B, and it ends with a half step. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. You can say that over and over again. Say it as though it has a rhythm and a meaning to it. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half. As I say multiple times in the guitar videos, one thing I like to see is that we've got a whole, whole, half here and a whole, whole, half here. The major scale is made of these 2 identical wings. We have whole, whole, half. Then from the G, we go whole, whole, half. Whole, whole, half on one side, whole, whole, half on the other, and a whole step separates them. So it's 2 identical sides joined by this whole step. You can call those tones, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, or whole steps and half steps. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Memorize that pattern because that's all your scales. If you start to wonder where sharps and flats come from, it comes from starting this whole, whole, half pattern on any other note. We're not going to try this yet, but just so you can see it, if I started on a D note, I could say let's play a major scale starting on D. The thing you have to know is that the pattern can't be violated. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half to make a major scale. So we can check. D to E is supposed to be a whole step. When I look back at my C scale, I see indeed D to E was a whole step. G to A, I need a whole step here. Yep, got one there. A to B is a whole step. That's excellent. E to F is a half step, but here I'm telling you that E to F is a whole step. I need a whole step in D, but E to F is a half. So I have to sharp the F, moving it over further from the E. Therefore now it's a whole step from E. Not coincidentally, that also satisfies this half step we need to G. So whole, whole, half is now going to incorporate an F sharp. Then the middle of the scale has a whole step. 2 more whole steps. We found out G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step, and I need a whole step from B to C. But one thing you're going to memorize is that E and F are a half step apart, and so are B's and C's. So if I need a whole step there, I need to sharp the C. I move it closer to the D. Let's put it here. So it's now a half step from D, but also a whole step from B. So if I apply the major scale pattern, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, to a D note, I get 2 sharps. The key of D has 2 sharps, F sharps and C sharps. If I tried to play that scale and I didn't put a C sharp, you would know it. You'd hear a little issue there. It's not finishing quite right. So there's my C sharp. I needed that whole step above B. If I had played it instead with an F natural, you'd know it wasn't right as well, starting on D. You can tell that that's not working. So I needed the F sharp there to satisfy the major scale pattern, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, starting on D. No matter what note I start on, it's going to cause us to alter notes to fit them into that pattern, meaning that every new key and every new scale will have different sharps or flats from the other ones. C is our home base. It has only natural notes. When we play all the notes from C and just name them without sharps or flats, we get our whole, whole, half scale, which then defines the scale for every other key. That's a very advanced concept for beginner players, But since we're playing that major scale on C now, and the ukulele lends itself so well to that scale, giving us one position on our 3 strings, we might as well get familiar with it right now. Don't forget to play Mary Had a Little Lamb as well. When we come to read notes, that will be handy to have that memorized. So that'll do it for today. That's a little bit advanced, but should be accessible to you. Have a good time, guys. See ya.